Incoming transmission from Vice Admiral Richard Sams, Regional Coordinator Region 20, SFI.
Command codes verified.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone. And yes, before anyone else mentions, yes, I know I need to get the intro video updated because I got promoted and it's being dealt with. So let's get it out of the way before anyone starts diving in on me. Very warm welcome to everyone. So this is a Region 20 hosted Ask the Candidates session. Very graciously, all of our candidate teams have arrived to chat with us this evening for us, this afternoon in various guises for the teams. They are. So going clockwise from my screen is Admiral David Nottage and Vice Admiral Ryan Case, Admiral Jeff Higdon, Admiral Sam Black and Admiral Mark Anderson. So Ryan, you're the odd one out.
I was just gonna say, there you go.
You're a pip short. Right. Anyway, right. So quickly before we get going, first comments from the CS. He can't keep his nose out. Look, here we go. Right. Yeah, because he couldn't come, but Sam's here, so that's fine.
TJ had some prior commitments that he couldn't get out of, so
yeah. So, what I remember, those of you who've been around and seen my live chats before will know that what I tend to do is to say thank you for people giving up their time and watching or taking part, as you gentlemen are, and I'll run some sort of offer. So just popped into the comments there. Well, it's gone around to everyone. I'm now going to do the same, but for all of the chats that I do roughly once a month between now and Christmas. And what there will be is your choice. If you win tonight, your choice of one of those. So there's a little mini light up shuttlecraft. There's the badge from Picard Season 2, which seems to have various names. It either seems to be it's an Academy badge or it's an ambassador's badge or whatever. Either way, it's quite cool. Next along is one of two of the sets of stamps that the Royal Mail issued a couple of years ago. That one's all scenes from the movies, so it features various people from the movies. There's a Anavos Command insignia patch bought before they went under. Following round, there is a fan sets 2021 Christmas tree decoration. It's a pin badge, but you can loop some ribbon through it and put it on your Christmas tree if you want. I'm just going to drop that banner off for a second, just so that people can see it. Thank you, Jeff. Starbase 20 patch. That's the last of about 3 or 4 that got made, so there aren't any more. So that's a one-off. There's the second set of stamps, which is all of the captains plus various other bits and people. They're the stamps. Those 10 there are the stamps that you could buy to post, to use to post mail generally. And the last one is the last of my collection of USS Matrix challenge coins that were issued in 2020. And that was a fundraising drive from, I think they were a Region 7 chapter, if memory serves. But they are all available this evening. The link's just been put out into the group. So please, all you do is you go on there. All you have to do is put your name in. Then at the very end of this, we'll draw it live, and the winner gets to pick one of those. And I donate all the gifts, and I stamp up all the postage costs as well. So if one of our panel win, it'll be going over to somewhere in the States. So, sorry, I'm going through my own notes. One other person I forgot to mention, Fleet Captain Jess Odell, who's the Region 20 Chief of Comms, is sitting in the background and helping me get along. Because again, if you've been on one of these with me, you'll know that I get very confused if I'm trying to press buttons and read and talk at the same time. I can read or talk, press buttons or talk. I can't do more than two things at once.
So I'm just the only lower rank on camera, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Flag off. Well, technically she's a flag officer. She's a fleet captain.
Yeah.
So just about fits. There you are. So anyway, purpose is to take the opportunity to ask any of our candidates. I do have a couple of questions that have been brought in before, and what I'll do is I will ask, and then we'll push it out to each team with a 2-minute limit to answer it, which I will inform, because I'll pop your name up on the screen and then I'll drop you off when your 2 minutes are up, and we'll go around. I have 5 questions that have been submitted, and then if there is time, we can do any follow-ups from that. So let's get going. So the first question is, I've heard candidates say that we are all one fleet, but doesn't that gloss over the real differences between US and non-US regions, which range from when fleet events are, i.e. time zones, to where events are, i.e. the US, to the leadership we see at all levels, predominantly American, especially when Region 20 is the second largest region in terms of numbers of members. So the question from there, gentlemen, is what are your plans to ensure that Region 20 is better served in your administration? And I'll throw David in quickly on this one, and I'll spin around who starts each time so that the rest of you get a chance to answer stuff up.
All right. Well, thank you very much. One of the things that we want to do, we are Team One Fleet, and we do believe that everyone should be treated equally. We want to be able to listen to all of our global membership. We want to understand what their issues are and work with them to come up with solutions to solve any issues that our global members have. We want to make sure that as one of the larger regions, that Region 20 has the ability to hold an IC if they so choose, with the understanding from the folks from the United States that it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But you also have to remember that a lot of folks from outside of the United States come to the ICs from outside the United States come into the United States for ICs, and it should be fair. But it all comes down to participation, listening, and understanding how to solve problems.
Lovely. Thank you, David. Jeff, over to you.
Well, I'm thinking about it. Region 20 is one of the more important regions, although all the regions are, equal, every one of them. But it seems that we have been neglecting some things with all the regions, and especially Region 20, since they got more chapters than any other country at the moment. We need to listen to you. We need to listen to everybody that's in there, the members, the commanding officers, you as the region coordinator. We need to find out your needs, your wants, and if we can accommodate them, we're going to try to do that. But it's more important to hear your voice than anything. Now, as far as ICs go, it'd be great to have an IC in London or Glasgow or Edinburgh. I think that would be great. But again, the cost is going to be the factor on whether we do that. Right now, I really don't know. We will investigate it. We can't make any promises, but we'll try our best to investigate and see what we can do. And maybe even send someone from our leadership over there. Hopefully we'll have some leadership over there as a part of the fleet. That's one thing I want to do, is include our outside leaders to be a part of our EC or our departmental heads within the EC. So there are all sorts of ways that we can include Region 20, not just Region 20, Region 9, 19, Region 10 and 11, they're all needing help to hear. And that's where it is, communication.
Thank you, Jeff. Sam, over to you.
Well, I mean, it's, to a great extent, it's a matter of, those of us in the United States don't know what we don't know in many cases that are the potential problems and issues. I know back it's been well over 10 years ago when we had investigations even into some people who wanted to join in Russia and form a chapter there. And when you start realizing what the exchange rates turn into for membership prices, it's like, really? Wow. Okay. And so we don't always understand what some of the issues are. So it is all about bringing those issues to us and letting us know what we can do to help. And it's also about stepping up and offering to help as well on the other side. Just to, if you know of a space that needs a problem that needs to be solved, bring it, and we'll work on it together and solve it.
Oh, lovely, thank you. See, I told you I was looking at a time, and that's why I couldn't change you in time. And Mark.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is the reason I have chosen Thomas for my BCS candidate is his unique perspective. He started out as a younger guy in Region 1. Now he's in Region 9 as the RC over there. So he's got a unique perspective from the United States side and, the Region 9 and Iceland side and all of Europe over there. So I think we also need to have regular meetings on those time zone that's convenient for the different regions and understand. So what's applicable in Region 20 may not be applicable in Region 9 as far as addressing issues and making them feel part of the organization. I think we need to have more diversity in the leadership part, and if not, at least have some advisors that we have regular meetings with that can keep in touch and find out what's lacking, what needs to be fixed, and what we need to do to move forward.
Lovely, great, thank you very much. Okay, let's shift straight on. So, question 2, which will then, they've both been submitted at the same time, but we have separated them into 2 separate questions. I think they're 2 separate angles to look at. How important is it to the candidates that Starfleet remains a not-for-profit registered company? And if so, why? So, Jeff, over to you first.
There are several good reasons to do that. Number one, it actually looks good for us. I believe it enhances us. But secondly, taxes. We'd have to pay more taxes on membership fees and other things that we sell. And this way we don't. We just have to report the income and make sure that it is in line with regulations set out by the IRS. I believe being a non-for-profit, someone hears a non-for-profit status, they usually perk up. I know I do. And we should keep that. Now, mind you, that we may need to switch states to get the best bang for our memberships, and there is always that possibility.
Great, thank you very much, Sam. Over to you.
Well, there are a number of protections for the for the corporation itself. That if we went, private, as it were, Jeff just mentioned a number of things that have to deal with the tax situations that would quickly deplete the Starfleet coffers in no amount of time. It also helps protect us from any kinds of issues. that could come up at any events in person. So it is, it is a very big deal to have these levels of corporate protections, if you will.
Great, thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, well, like everybody said, the regulatory requirements from going from a not for profit to a profit organization is night and day, really. You have copyright. I mean, right now, we're not profit. If we start making a profit, I'm sure a lot of copyright, Paramount and everybody would be looking at us through a microscope to make sure we're not violating any of that. It just makes more sense that we stay not for profit from every perspective you can look at it. I mean, in the past, I've seen conventions like Volcons in Tampa and different places started out as a convention for fans, by fans, for fans. And then it turned into a business, and it's really quickly disintegrated because instead of making the fans happy, it was now about making money. And that just destroys any organization that you do that to it. I've seen people who do Star Trek collecting and then try to sell Star Trek stuff as a vendor at conventions and open up their own hobby shop and things. And it usually ends in a disaster. Rarely it'll work out, but it's just a recipe for disaster in my book if we were to go move away from a not for profit.
Lovely. Great. Thank you very much. David, apologies, I should have asked earlier if I'll give you or Ryan the chance to answer from your team. So
sure, I'll go ahead and take this one.
I thought you might.
So a not-for-profit, the reason that it's going to be mostly important is that it protects the leadership, the leaders, and the business practices from any kind of serious liability. It's going to be important as a volunteer organization to maintain our not-for-profit status. The idea of moving states, the benefit there is going to be whether or not sales tax is charged, and different kinds of taxes are charged. We are currently incorporated in North Carolina that does have a small tax. There may be other options for us to look into, like Delaware or even Nevada have been suggested, where there is absolutely no tax whatsoever. I'm committed to keeping the corporation the way, at least in some form, but we need to take a look at what the laws are, because when you go from state to state, the laws can change on operating procedures, and that could affect how the Admiralty Board and the EC does operate.
Lovely. Thank you all very much. So the second question from the same member of the region, with some, as he's put it, painting the picture, is that I grew up with the original series, and the 5-year mission is mentioned in its introduction. I have previously asked about a 5-year membership and understand it's against current policy because of the current software limitations with the database and the possibility of human error. So his question is, when the new database is online, do any candidates have any intentions to progress a change in Starfleet's policy to include the legendary 5-year mission as a renewing option? Sam, we'll start with you.
Honestly, this actually hasn't been discussed. I hadn't even thought about that. I know that in the past, a number of times it's been looked into have multi-year memberships, and part of the problems with that has a tendency to be we don't know what kinds of expenses we're going to be facing in the coming years, and in order to be able to provide services at certain levels, it's much easier for us currently, at least, to keep things on an annual basis for budgetary purposes.
Lovely.
But I'm open
Great.
to ideas.
Very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mark, over to you.
All right. Well, I think it's something we definitely need to look into. In the military, you join for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You give that commitment. So I think we just need to look at if we can program that in the database to be able to accommodate that. But like I say, the drawbacks to that would be from the budget standpoint, you'd have these peaks and valleys. Everybody probably remembers, well, maybe it's a lot of people don't remember, Microsoft. They used to have every 2 or 3 years a new version of Microsoft would come out, Microsoft Office, and everybody would buy it. So they'd have this big inrush of funds for 1 year, then it would go flat for 2 or 3 years until the new version came out. Well, now they're on a subscription basis mostly, so they have a flat revenue stream. So that would be something we would have to look at from a budgetary standpoint with the influx of a 5-year membership. Then you're not going to get any additional funds from that member for that 4 years. So that would have to be budgeted that way and planned for that way. So we don't spend all that money at once and then go, oh no, we can't cover anything else because we spent that money.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. David and Ryan, who's taking this one?
You want it, Ryan?
I don't mind.
Go for it.
Kind of pinging off what everybody has said, it's a kind of a budgetary issue. I will say, frankly, once all of our finances have been fixed across the board, I don't see any issue with the idea. The stark reality is that we're just coming off of some major hiccups on the financial side of things. Our CFO has just gotten a budget to the AB for the first time on time in quite a little while. That being said, it's just going to be some budgeting issues that kind of basically somebody's going to have to do some paperwork. I don't see any issue with it, but I will mention, yes, there are currently some technological issues with the database, but if you pay your membership, wait for it to process, and then pay it again, they'll add another year to your membership. So little backdoor for you.
Richard, real quick to add to what he just said, the Mars database is going to have that. The Mars database will have that functionality to be able to select multiple years. At least that's what Tony has said. I would agree with Ryan. We absolutely need to have a multi-year, and it's all going to come down to being able to manage the budget. I think that with myself having done the budgets for this organization many years in a row, that I have the skills to be able to manage that budget and to be able to update that budget as need be going forward. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So, right, I'm just going to pause and just remind everyone, because we've had some more people join, there is the opportunity to chuck your name into the ring, as it were, for a prize just for being here this evening. All you need to do is go to the link that's going to appear again in a minute. Click on that. All you need to do is add your name, and we'll draw that live at the end of this live chat this evening. So, question 4. There seems to be. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
I haven't answered the question.
Oh, beg pardon. I do apologise, Jeff. Sorry, beg your pardon. And see, prime example of me not being able to do stuff twice.
Well, this, like all of us, I think this is the first time I've heard having a legendary 5-year mission membership. I've heard of lifetime memberships being pushed. I've heard multi-year being pushed. I think that's the best one we'll probably have. I know a person that actually did. He had like 12 years of membership. He had paid for ahead of one of his thing, and he just finishing up on it, and they divided it a bit more. So it is possible to do that. As far as consideration, as my fellow candidates say, as when we straighten out everything, make sure things are going right, and other considerations involved, such as the budget and the actual memberships costs, we'll be glad to consider multi-year or specific year memberships. Right now, as Ryan just pointed out, you can pay 1 year and then the next year and then the next year after that, and they'll add it. So That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, and apologies again, Jeff.
No
Pointing
problem.
back to why I have someone in the background, I cannot multitask, not past two things. So, going on again. Question 4. There seems to be few direct links between the regions, with an apparent lack of cohesiveness within the fleet overall. So the question is, what do you feel you could do to bring the fleet closer together, creating more unity within this branch of fandom? And Mark, we'll start with you.
Well, that's an interesting question. I saw something the other day, and it's kind of put an idea in my head. And like I say, it's probably the first time I'm saying anything about it. But I was driving down the road, and there was a small city in I would say which one, in Florida. But then they said sister city was a city in France. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what about if we had the same thing in Starfleet, where we have a sister chapter or a brother chapter, or however you want to call it, in another country, and we have communication between those two chapters. We can relay what that chapter's doing and what we're doing, and we can kind of, talk about the shows and anything. And if they're having problems, getting new Star Trek, we can help work on those issues. So I think a partnership kind of that way would maybe help out with that. But again, there's other things we can do. It just takes some time to look at it, study the problem, and come up with a solution that would work.
Lovely. Thank you very much. David or Ryan, who's going first?
I think I'm going to take it.
Okey-dokey.
Frankly, the easy answer is what could we personally do is attend your events. One thing that I've kind of talked to David, we talked about it when I came out to visit him in California, was to get a repository of the various regional summits and major events and figure out a schedule that he and or I could attend. Like, that's a very simplistic answer, but I think that it would go a long way to have your CS and or VCS in attendance at your events.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Just for some background, I would agree, because we were lucky the last time we were able to have one in Region 20 in 2019. The previous CS, Dan Toole and his wife Melissa came over and spent some time with us, which was really nice. Jeff, over to you.
Yeah, well, it is. That is the thing with the various chapters, various regions. They're in different parts of the world, and they have different ways of doing things, and the such. It's going to take an open communications, being able to talk to each other. And that's what we're all saying. Years ago, my chapter, the Blackhawk, who was named Shiloh before, had a sister ship program where we actually had links to other chapters that we could communicate with throughout. And that's a good idea for any chapter and any region that wants to keep communication up with other chapters in other regions. Now, I know the region coordinators can get together once a month, but they need to communicate between themselves too, and we will encourage that. We will encourage that in order to have a better exchange of ideas and of knowledge between, and in order to get to know each other.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much. And Sam, over to you.
Well, I've said all along, it's all about the Fleet family. We've got more people active on our chapter when we were able to get them to go to regional events. It's all about really trying, and the pandemic just kind of has not helped bring everybody back together again. And I'm looking forward to actually being able to go and see people and visit people again. But these kinds of forums and events and such, it's a great opportunity for us to get together from all around the world and to be able to have opportunities at different times to make those connections and to be available for everybody.
Great, lovely. Thank you all very much. So I'll go with the final question that has been pre-submitted, and then Dan Adams has posted one, which we'll deal with afterwards. So the final one for me, actually, I'll have to adjust it slightly because it's a question for the VCS candidates. So Ryan and Sam are able to. You're both really chuffed. There's a question just for you that you've not been forgotten, and then I'll be able to. You'll see what I mean when I ask it. I'll be able then to flip the question for Jeff and Mark. So the question is, what is it about your CS running mate that convinced you to stand with them for election? Ryan, I'll go to you first.
Man, easiest question of the day. Look, me and David are very good friends. I don't know the exact moment, but he and I served on the Admiralty board for 6 years, maybe a little longer. And from the moment I walked in the door, he and I really hit it off. We started hanging out at the ICs that we were attending, had a lot of similar ideas, found ourselves voting on a lot of the same topics, backing each other up with motions and seconds. Honestly, like Starfleet set aside, David's just my friend. And the minute he kind of broached me with the subject, I was like, if anybody else had asked, I'd have probably said no. And I'll go ahead and readily admit I have. David is one of my best friends in this organization, and I wanted to stand beside him.
Thank you very much. And Sam, same question for you.
TJ's a great guy. I've known TJ from having interactions when he was with the Marines and Special Ops and would come to Region 3 events. And I'd help, coordinate things on a local, the local scale, so to speak, to help, before they got here and on site. When I got asked to come on board into the Academy staff a few years ago, I've gotten to know him a whole lot better as well. Working kind of, you might say, on a semi-daily basis. And seeing how he handles and manages what goes on in the Academy behind the scenes, which is quite a bit, just made me, respect him and enough to realize that, he's got what it takes to put forth a good plan for Starfleet.
Lovely, thank you very much. And as I said, I'll switch that round. So
somebody you dislike. Right?
Oh.
What do you
Jeff, what was it that attracted you to your VCS running mate, or what was it? Yes, so would it be that because they didn't convince you to run with them, but what was it that made you pick the VCS you've picked?
Oh, I get to go first. Okay, Eric and I have known each other for quite a while, and he was on my region staff when I was RC for Region 12. He would step up in a minute's notice. We lived close. He used to live in the United States, and he lived pretty close to where I live here in Rockford. And he'd come over, pick me up. We traveled to summits together, and we'd room together, and we just became good friends. And even though he has moved back to his native Canada, he lives in Southampton, Canada. We keep on contact thanks to Zoom and Skype and my phone. We talk at least weekly. We had been doing that ever since he left the United States for his native Canada. One of the reasons I picked him was, in fact, he's Canadian. I wanted to have a foreign person, and although he wasn't my first choice, he was the best choice. He's willing to do the job, willing to get the job done. He's done it. He shows he's done it by what he's done in media services in trying to keep our membership roles safe there on Facebook and on our mailing lists. But also, he's been a good friend. Whenever I've got a problem, I'll call him, or he has a problem, he'll get a hold of me through various means, and we'll talk about it. So, and that's the thing, talking between not just our candidates, our running mate, but knowing what our candidates have done. I've known each one of these for a couple of years here, and they're really great guys. And that's what Eric is. He's a great guy, and he will make an excellent VCS.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And Mark, I know you sort of touched on this slightly earlier, but
Yeah,
I'll give you the chance to
I'll
answer
try
it.
not to regurgitate the same thing over. Well, like I say, his unique perspective, and unlike a lot of people here, today's the first day I've actually met Thomas. We've talked on the phone a lot. We've had some video calls, but today's the first day I've actually physically met him in person. We have a lot of the same goals, a lot of the same things, same ideas. We want to get the internet, say the international membership or the membership. I mean, we call them global members. Now they're members. Everybody's members. We're all really global members. But anyway, enough of that. But he's really a good guy too. I think we're going to be long-term friends now that we've been talking a lot. So I just thought it was important to have somebody on my team that people that are not in the United States could look at and go, well, he's seen it, both sides of the coin. He knows what's going on. He knows the challenges. So I just think that, like I say, it's probably not the best political choice in the world, but I think it's that important to have that representation there. And like I say, he'll make a great VCS.
Lovely. Thank you all very much. So that's the end of the questions that I'd had pre-submitted. You've hopefully been able to see it, but I'll put it up now that I can read through it. So from Dan Adams, the past 2 years have brought in technological advances that allow us to connect in more ways around the world than ever. There are virtual hangouts, streaming of conventions, and even virtual conventions. How can SFI adapt while still charging a fee? And just completely at random, Sam, I'll start with you.
Well, I think that these are wonderful. It is probably going to wind up, as we've said, there's not really anything in the Starfleet budget at the moment. So it would probably have to have some level of a fee. But the virtual IC I thought came off really well. I kind of got lost a couple of times wandering around, but I think once everybody, once we started figuring out where things were and who, where to find folks, it was a great platform to use. And I think that this is an awesome idea to bring us all closer together when we can't get together in person.
Lovely, thank you. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, well, like I say, the technology is changing every day. It's advancing faster than we can keep up with sometimes. But like I say, the virtual IC was great. I think doing maybe some blended events where, like I say, years ago, I think it was American Idol started it. They had like watch parties in different areas, and at the commercial they would go, "Oh, let's look at the group in Tampa," and everybody would be like, "Yay!" So I think we could utilize that and have some blended events in person and virtual, and like I say, to keep everybody involved in the organization, regular updates via video, regular meetings, like I say, in different time zones that's convenient for the people in that time zone would be a great thing to do that. And like I say, that every thing that's changing, it's just every year we're going to have to evaluate what we need to do and where we need to go and how much it's going to cost, if anything.
Lovely, thank you very much. David or Ryan, who's taking this one?
So costs for a lot of these things are gonna come around, whether you have to pay for Zoom, whether we go over our allotment, like with the VIC, we stayed within our allotment, so it was free. We still have use of that technology going forward for up to 25 participants for free, and that is available currently. But having a hybrid type of a structure after we get a little safer on the COVID pandemic issues, I think will make it much better for us going forward to be able to do not only in-persons, but some sort of a hybrid version of these gatherings. But continuing to use the AMAs, whether it's Zoom or StreamYard, to be able to communicate is really going to be key to keep these virtual hangouts, using the word that was in the question, active and keeping our membership active globally.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And Jeff.
We're going to have to take advantage of these technologies that are coming out as they're coming out, keeping informed about them, and making sure that we have the opportunity to use them. I think it's a great thing that we continue using them. If we have to have another virtual ISP, we know how to do it now, and we can look to people. How can we do this better? And yeah, the technology's there. We're going to use it. We're going to use it for Zoom chats, Skype, streaming, the AMAs, fireside chats, and such.
That's great. Lovely. Thank you all very much. Jess has already asked if there's any other questions for the candidates. Can't see much coming up. So let me just sort out the draw. What I'm going to do, because we haven't had a lot of people go into it, so I'm going to chuck everyone in twice. And so bear with me. So I just need to, so 2 to 17. I'll number to myself, and then I'll put it up mixed. Oh, one more from Dan. There we go. Quick, while I'm mucking about with this. Oh no, where's right? Get rid of that one. Put that one up. There we go. How can we welcome fans discovering Trek through the new output that's available? I'll go just from what's on my screen. So Jeff, I'll start with you.
Well, we need to make them aware of our organization, make sure we can get them in contact with members that can enhance, and that's the thing, enhance their Trek experience. The big thing about fandom is the joy of knowing, as we put, family, and bringing them into the family. We can do that by, having parties to where we can watch episodes, sharing videos and the like, talking about Trek and talking about the other fandoms, the other chapters, because that's just as much a part of Trek now to us than ever before. And we should and can help those new fans in becoming the most Star Trek fan that they can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does perfectly. Sam, over to you.
Well, I mean, we've got a great opportunity for new members from all ages and all demographics, and that's an awesome opportunity that we haven't always had. And it's just a matter of us trying to find ways to capitalize on that and not, I don't know, hide in our in our backyards anymore. We need to be able to put ourselves out there so that our presence is known, and that is going to be something that starts at the local level, that we can try to help at the Starfleet level, but it's going to be boots on the ground, as it were, to make sure that we don't scare somebody off because we didn't like last week's episode of Discovery or something. So yeah,
I'm smiling because I've heard that argument more so recently than before. Mark, over to you.
Well, I think we've got to get the Starfleet brand out there, get it visible, get it in as many ears and in front of many eyes as we possibly can, and through many avenues as we can. But like I say, it's the second golden age of Star Trek. I think right now we have all these new shows out there. We have cartoons for the younger folks. I know in the 70s when the animated series came out, that was some of the first Star Trek I was exposed to, and that kind of got me hooked. So now, but it's really the chapters. They're the ones that's got to go out and shake the hands. Talk to people at work. What do you think about this episode or that episode? Oh, I haven't seen that. Oh, well, you need to go watch that. You got streaming. Yeah, go watch that. Have parties at your house. I mean, mostly those are your crew, so you're preaching to the choir pretty much at that point, because you're having watch parties at your house, and you can't really do public events anymore with the streaming, because you can't stream to public, not like the olden days when we used to have premiere and Deep Space Nine finale episode and thing. We'd have a big party at a sports bar for that and have Star Trek on all the TVs, and the sports guys would be looking at you like you're crazy. It's like, yep, I'm definitely crazy. But anyway, we've got to support the chapters. They're the ones that are going to go out and meet the people. They're the ones that's going to spread the word more than anything else. We just got to provide them that support and the materials they need to do that.
Lovely, thank you very much, David. Ryan, who's taking this one?
I'll go ahead and take this one. One of the things that we really need to focus in on is if we're going to be having shows like Prodigy, we have to have a program in the background that's going to support the types of fans that's going to generate in creating some sort of a cadet corps, giving offerings to the younger folks. There are ways that you can stream in a watch party. Most Trek at this point, you may not be able to do it between different regions, but within the continental United States, you can have watch parties. But I can't invite people from outside of the United States due to restrictions of the technology. We just need to make sure that we understand that know that when new Trek is coming out, we have to be prepared with an idea and a plan proactively to be able to promote that within the organization and utilize that opportunity as much as possible.
It's great. Lovely. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Dan, for that supplementary question. Right, let me share my screen now, because I've been able, that extra question was marvelous because it allowed me to do stuff. So, as I said, I've popped in all the numbers and I've duplicated them twice. Everyone's got a second one. So it's all scrambled as well. I shall spin and we'll see who comes up. It's taking a while. Number 14, right, so I'll stop the screen because I'll need to come out and tell you exactly who that is. That'll be from a duplicate one. So, well, oh, that's going to save me some money. It's my husband who's won. There you are, number 14. So what I'll do is, because of that, he'll just look at me and say, "Really?" Because he looks at me twice. Because I can exclude the numbers. He looks at me twice with anything to do with Trek. Once when I buy it, and then again when you give it away. When I try and give it away to him, yeah. Right, having taken his two numbers out, we'll try again.
Spend a couple more times, I might get a bingo.
Yeah. 16 this time. Right.
These numbers were organized. That's for a respin.
16. Oh, well, that's a nice one, because I put her in because she hadn't. So Jess has won.
Hey.
Jess, who's my regional chief of comms, who has been assisting us in the background today. So I'll catch up with her afterwards to see what one she would like. That's it. We said we'd aim for about an hour, and we've been around 50 minutes. So can I thank those who've logged in to join us and to ask bits and pieces and to respond. But most importantly, can I thank all of our candidates for giving up their time to join with us tonight. It's certainly, in my experience, in my 15 or 16 so years in Fleet, this has been the most open election that we've had, and I think it goes back to one of Dan's earlier questions. It's one of the unexpected bonuses that the pandemic's forced on us to be able to link up with our 4 teams, our 4 candidate teams, and ask questions that people in Region 20 want to ask, rather than it all being a bit opaque and in the background, as it were.
It's not a back room at a hotel and one random IC one time.
No, no, the better one than that, because obviously when that was happening, there was no sort of streaming, so no one other than the people at the IC got to hear the questions or the answers.
Right.
The better one was, I think, my first election, and that was, I think I managed to join in the first year of an administration. So I'd been in a couple of years before I got the chance to vote. And the voting packet turned up in good time, and I had to make a choice, because the CQ with all the candidate information arrived 3 weeks after the voting deadline.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Yeah, but that's what used to happen, and that was no one within Fleet's fault.
Sure.
Make that clear. It wasn't the CQ team at the time. They got it through to the publishing house in good time. It was just the awful delays between it getting posted out from the US and arriving on doorsteps and in letterboxes in the UK and elsewhere. But yeah, it did make me chuckle. And I seem to remember thinking, oh, well, if I had seen this, I might have voted differently. But there you are. There you are. And no names or patrons as to which administration it was that I was voting for. But gentlemen, thank you all again for coming and joining us this evening for us, and this afternoon for you in various stages.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Been our pleasure, and good luck to you all, and hope that whatever the outcome of the election is, that Fleet benefits from it, and we grow better and grow bigger. Thank you all very much. Good night.
I'm going to sleep this off. Please let me know if there's some other way we can screw up tonight.